to schools that would have been affected by the cyclone. We were also, providing knowledge and information about COVID-19. We've been providing, tents to schools so that the spacing that came with COVID-19, would be enough. Such is the type of work that we've been doing, and we've been trying to provide knowledge in terms of climate crisis, in terms of climate change. But though it lacks coordination, because you find that the knowledge that we provide as CSOs is basically targeting the Ministry of Primary and Secondary Education, leaving out the ministry that is responsible for the provision of the knowledge on environment and climate change issues. So you find that in Zimbabwe, you have that Ministry of Environment with a clear policy in terms of climate change, in terms of mitigation, in terms of how to react to risks, but it's ignored by most, CSOs when they are working with the Ministry of Primary and Secondary Education in disseminating climate information in the schools. So, yeah, in short, I can say that for now.
All right, thank you, Clemens. Sibabatu?
I will say, from my part, well, Clemens said most of the things. CSO's work, it is reactionary, but we can also have disaster preparedness. We have within our countries the Red Crosses, the World Visions, which are known for for Lesotho, they're subscribed as civil society, so they assist some of the local CSOs to just understand what disaster preparedness and disaster mitigation can be and what can be done in that aspect. Obviously, he spoke about COVID-19. That one hit everyone, and we all became reactionary. Nobody was ever prepared for that, but we can say we, as CSOs, and I know in Lesotho we did quite a lot because we found ways to actually still advocate for education outside of the schools. That's when we, as Lesotho Council of NGOs, stood up and advocated for non-formal education, to say that no child should not be educated just because we have a worldwide pandemic, but there should be some things, there should be means and innovations that can be done. So non-formal education became our mean of trying to reach most children, because as much as I know our theme has been talking a lot about rethinking and the fourth industrial revolution, but we can't deny the fact that in our continent, technology is not where it needs to be. So as much as in the urban areas, we were able to get the Vodacoms or the Masscoms to actually subsidize or zero-rate data for those students that can actually have access to technology. But in the rurals where I come from, in the mountainous areas, it was not even something to think about. So we had to make sure that the non-formal education becomes empirical, and we were able to still give learning and advocate for learning to happen in that type of space. I think I'll give Joseph a few more words. We still have some time to talk, right?
Sure.
Thank you.
I have the permission, yeah?
You have.
Okay, thank you. To appreciate the impact that CSOs have on matters related to climate change or education in emergency, we must appreciate two things. One, the forms within which CSOs present themselves. And then number two, the general role of CSOs. If you look at the form, you realize that CSOs will come in very many different forms, from simple community-based organizations to national-based organizations to international-based organizations. So if you look at those particular forms, you realize that they are ubiquitous, they are everywhere. And when we now talk about impact in the event of a catastrophe or a situation that breeds forth an issue of education in emergency, then they are there. Now, the other aspect is the issue of roles. Now, CSOs play two critical roles. One, holding the government to account in terms of delivery of services, and two, complementing the efforts. Now, if you look at the first element, which is holding the government to account, the best way to do so is to engage strategically, even on matters related to climate change. So that, for example, if I give an example of Kenya, we right now have the Refugee Act of 2021, which is actually a framework that guides Kenya's response on issues related to refugees. This act is in place because of agitation of the civil societies or members of the Education in Emergency group, who are primary civil society organization in addition to UN agencies that work towards a humanitarian effort. If you look at that particular component of accountability, then you see the role of the CSO as being crucial in the development of frameworks that can be basis of references to hold the government to account. The second aspect of it, in terms of complementing government efforts, and my colleagues have touched on it, on this particular matter of addressing matters related to climate change, is that aspect that they are everywhere really helps. And also it helps that CSOs have got simpler decision-making processes and probably faster decision-making processes as compared to the government who are bureaucratic in nature. So you find that when an emergency situation will arise, it's very easy to find the initial efforts coming from civil society organizations. So in that particular case, then you find that they have impact. You can see that particular impact in their action. However, like was pointed a little bit, is that we are used to being sporadic in terms of our actions. The challenge that we have is that we don't engage strategically, and that could be one of the ways to actually boost the possibilities of CSOs being more impactful in education in emergency situations. Thank you.
Wow. It looks like you have been reading the questions and connecting to the to the second question, because like Joseph, you have answered everything I needed for question number 2. All right, so that is so brilliant because it shows how much you're aware of what's the role of CSOs in education emergencies and climate change crisis. And as you can see, Clemens shared more on knowledge. And we all know that if you really want to change the world on any aspect, trap the education system. If you input anything in the education system, it will go viral and it will go generations to generation. So that means we are also going back into to what extent does our education curriculums allows, or our education delivery models allow climate change education and, awareness to students? How many knows about climate change and what is happening? And then you have also shared, Sebabatso shared mostly on the education emergencies. We are more reactive than being proactive. And my second question was basically touching on how CSOs can basically, become like the center of advocating these matters, changing the decision-making processes and policies, in which, Joseph, you have said everything about it. And now I want to go straight to the question number 3, in which I need to understand, we are in the 4th industrial revolution. Technology has taken... That's a good one. You will have to tell me if we are in or we are not. Technology has taken over every sector. And how do you think will be the best strategy to leverage innovation and adaptability to respond to all the evolving challenges posed by education emergencies as well as the climate change? And again, we should not forget that over 80% of students from public schools during COVID-19 were much affected with the pandemic than the ones who were studying in private schools. How can we do it? The floor is yours. Anybody can start.
Yeah, I think the starting point should actually be looking at our policies of education. How much do they, take into consideration all these issues about climate change itself, about disaster risk management itself. The policies. If you look at the ESSP, Education Sector Strategic Plans themselves, the annual plans, how do they take into consideration issues to do with climate change? Because climate change is real. It is happening. And the challenge that we do have is it is always taken as a cross-sectional issue. How do our curriculum itself take into cognizance these issues to do with climate change? I think that is the starting point to make sure that our policies within the education sector are taking consideration of the changes that are happening to our climate and to weather. Coming to issues of technology, it is quite bad for us Africans that we speak of technology. I think Seva, actually alluded to it to say that we have been trying, but you talk of technology in emergencies. For example, many countries were trying, many African countries were trying to use, internet as a means of teaching, But you find that the issue to do with the internet penetration itself is a challenge. You find out that issues of energy are still a challenge to Africa. So it becomes very difficult to introduce these technologies, that come with that should be impressed in teaching. But there are opportunities. I think you find that most countries are actually trying to go towards solar, which is an opportunity for me to say there's climate change and you want to introduce technology, and let's go to green energy that is so robust in Africa. Let's just start thinking of greening our schools, like what we were saying in Zimbabwe, that we are greening our schools. You find that in Zimbabwe we are solarizing our schools. We are thinking of wind energy. We are thinking of the smart energy solutions. I think that's where we need to go in terms of harnessing technology that then as a reaction to climate change.
Thank you so much, Clemens. Joseph?
When it comes to innovation, matters of innovation in terms of education emergencies, one, I see two opportunities. Number one, to ask ourselves the question, how do we innovatively add to support community-based coping mechanisms so that they can be able to cope under these particular very difficult circumstances? How do we then as CSOs come in and support those particular processes? What investment then do we need to make to support the community's coping mechanisms during such kind of issues? Because in certain communities in Africa, for example, in the nomadic communities, you'll find a camel will be able to get to a place rather than say a vehicle or even a helicopter. So what is our role in providing support to ensure that the communities can use that particular facility that they have done all over so many years to actually get over everything? Then we do that, we are becoming innovative. Now, the second aspect of it then has to do with technology. And like Clement has talked about a lot about technology. But in terms of technology, we need to take the facts, ask ourselves the questions, what are the opportunities presenting before us? Because those opportunities are going to define the way we are going to actually address the issues of innovations in areas. I'll give an example. In Kenya, we have an internet penetration of about 30%. So 70% generally in terms of internet connectivity, we have an issue. But then again, that also brings in another related kind of issue, that 30% of the Kenyan population live in urban areas. 70% live in rural areas. So as CSOs, we need to make a connection between those two. Could we even be saying that the bulk of the 30% that internet actually gets to are actually only in the urban areas? Could internet have even penetrated in the rural areas so that, for example, we can say that the little access that we have in terms of internet in rural community centers, we can actually come up with interventions that can get the youth, the children, to come in to use facilities in the form of expanding learning spaces as a way of coping with calamities. We need to understand this particular issue. I liked the presentation yesterday about the use of ICT. In Kenya, for example, you find that 54 million people have the phone connectivity is at 64 million, but then the population is at 50 million. So that tells you that probably there are so many people holding dual SIM cards or they have got multiple phones. I like the technology or the aspect that we were taking that particular advantage yesterday, and you're saying we're developing apps that are more telephone or mobile phone connected so that you can get to reach our people. In Kenya, for example, the fiber optic network has covered about 35 to 47 counties, out of 47 counties. So what kind of interventions do you make to ensure that you address issues of innovation on matters so that you can be able to effectively address issues if they arise of education and emergencies? So in terms of technology, we can take advantage of it, but in fruitfully taking advantage of it, we can only do so if we understand the context within which we operate. Thank you.
Powerful. Yes, Sebastian.
No, after all of that, I have very little to say, but like Joseph is saying, and Clemens has said, our innovation is actually within our communities. And up until there was the conversations this morning about how much we are taking from the Chinese and from other nationalities or other continents, and we overlook our own abilities and our own, I will say what we have, our own resources within the continent that can be innovative as far as technology, as far as even just innovation in learning. Like I said, non-formal education, it's one thing that we as the continent, knowing how our continent is built, we are not taking advantage of that. And if you look at the first world, you will get people that will say, oh, I studied from home, I did this, and I got my degree, I got my certificates. And we know that there are areas within our communities where if it rains, a child will not be able to go to school. If it snows in my country, there will be a week where schools are closed. Therefore, what are we doing to that? If the teacher is near those students, can we not just open the hat and just make sure that learning continues? Those are innovations. They may not need that much technology, but those are innovations that we should be using within ourselves, using what we have at hand. I think our challenge is that we keep on looking at other people, innovations, and thinking those are the only innovations that are there, as opposed to looking at what we have at hand as people of the soil. Thank you.
Wow, that is very
Yeah,
powerful.
probably
You-
the
you
word
wanna
that
sh-
I was
okay.
looking at is indigenous knowledge systems. We ignore our indigenous knowledge systems about these issues to do with climate change and emergencies. You know, we have got systems that can predict to say it's going to rain much more today, and probably it's going to be flooding, and you can actually stop learners from going to school. Am I lying, Joseph? Isn't it?
No, it's very true.
We have them, but we have ignored them and really wanted to embrace those that are coming from the Western. Yeah.
Wow, this is very powerful, and I can really, I'm really agreeing with you that every time we've been discussing and thinking of innovation, we're thinking of taking ideas from the Western, and we are ignoring what we can do best with what we have. And you have just taken me back to the discussion I had with one of the committee member of the education curriculum for Tanzania. Recently, our education curriculum has been, our education policy has been renewed. And I once had a discussion, and we were discussing on the context as to why, you know, the preschool is not a must in Tanzania currently. And we were thinking, what is the reason? And the reason we were told is that we do not have enough infrastructure to accommodate the kids. And then I was thinking, why can't we have informal learning centers within the districts, within the villages? And I'm very glad that you have also shared the similar idea, because these are the ways we'll be able to mitigate challenges, especially the ones that are caused with education emergencies, crisis, and as well as climate change. Thank you so much for that. I'm going into the fourth question, and then we will welcome the crowd for Q&A. Well, now, how do CSOs engage and empower local communities? Again, back to the community. How do CSOs empower local communities to be actively involved in education initiatives during emergencies and climate change adaptations?
I'll take it. We all generally talk about this, and we don't practice it as much as we should, rather. Leaving no one behind. Because if we as CSOs are doing our jobs correctly, we are the spokespersons for our communities, and our bosses are our communities. So we shouldn't be doing anything without their involvement and their engagement overall, because they are the ones that know their environments better. They are the ones that will tell you, if you cross this river at this day, at this time, it's not a good thing. So no students should be crossing this river. And then they will tell you just many things that we sometimes intellectualize what we should be actually taking indigenous knowledge. There was, I think it was yesterday or the day before, when it was said that we need a course in experience, and that is something we as CSOs, if we do our job correctly, is to take part and understand the knowledge and take our communities as the knowledge hub that it is, because there's nothing that we can do without having community buy-in, because we will just be there and we will become the DPs, no offense, but that's what we will be doing. So we need that hands-on collaboration between us and them, so that whatever we do, there is ownership, and the onus will be on the communities themselves, not just the people who came with the projects. I mean, we have the Girl Guides. They had a beautiful project. It was launched here in Tanzania and in my country, Girl Clark. It was Girl campaign on climate change. It was a beautiful initiative, but because it was a European aspect on how to mitigate climate change, it took longer for our countries to actually implement such a beautiful project, which we're putting girls in the forefront to just say, this is how climate change affects us. Then it goes to some of the conversations that we were having yesterday with the early child marriages and the dropouts, but the way the curriculum was put, because it wasn't localized, it took time. But up until there was onus within our countries to say, no, this is the actual challenge, then you saw the success in now girls being advocates for climate change. Hence they are in Dubai as we speak, speaking on climate change. We have advocates from here in Tanzania. We have advocates from Lesotho. Thank you.
Yeah, I think one thing that CSOs can also do in empowering communities is actually, creating materials, learning materials that can be understood by the communities. The challenge that we do is we always create these materials with technical jargon that are not being understood by the communities. I can give you an example right now in Zimbabwe. There's a very big drive on issues to do with voluntary voluntary carbon credit trading that is aimed at compensating for these climate changes, where a fifth of the land of the Zimbabwean land is actually been parceled to a company in Dubai, and it is said communities are going to benefit 20% out of it, but communities do not understand all these issues. But we are saying these are the issues that should benefit the communities. So whenever we are developing these materials as CSOs, we have to make sure that they are in a language and in technical, not in technical jargon, so that the communities do or understand. Secondly, I think we need to create practical learning spaces within communities. Where we can actually create environmental clubs within communities. We can actually introduce awards within communities in terms of climate change mitigation, so that communities do understand, communities do develop skills to mitigate against climate change.
Joseph, just in half a minute.
I'll be less than that. From what my colleagues have shared, we are seeing it's crucial to have everyone mobilized to participate on the issues related to climate change. And we also need to build the capacities of the community. But if I also add, I think we should also be able to create linkages to strategically have communities engage with strategic government processes in those particular communities. For example, if in Kenya we are organized along county lines, and each county has got a county integrated development plan. So how are they really connected to those particular plans? Because by really understanding what is in those particular plans, they can be able to understand the gaps that come therein, and also be able to participate in holding to account the government in providing services, even during cases of emergencies. Yeah, thank you.
Wow, thank you so much. I think that's a very key role that CSOs should play. We should not just develop projects in boardrooms and then we go out there and we tell them what we want them to do. We should develop projects with them. Initially, we should include the communities from the initial phases of the project so that they become part of it and they take ownership. You have reminded me of a strategy that we use in my organization. Whenever we develop a computer lab in a school in the villages, sometimes even the village leaders contribute to those projects. Why? Because we live in Dar es Salaam. They need to take care of those computers in those schools. If we don't involve them from the beginning, that means at some point we'll go there and find no computer. So they also put in their money so that whenever they pass by and see a robber around the school, they will know what to do. So same to other projects, especially with climate change. These people knows the environment more than us. So they should really be integrated in the process of project management, and as well as even in the monitoring and evaluation. I will give some 5 to 7 minutes for engagement with the audience. 5, yes. Anyone? Thank you. I see some hands. Okay, they started though. Anyway. Welcome inside.
Asante sana. First of all, I would like to really congratulate the panelists for their emphasis on community knowledge and building from community knowledge I wish they were here so that we could build on that knowledge with them today. But I really appreciate and support what you said, because I've done a lot of work like this, and once you start with their own knowledge and vision, actually the impetus for change and development is huge, because it's the first time people have actually listened to them and supported them. And even with regard to climate change, I think almost every ethnic group in Tanzania have what are called famine foods, traditional potatoes or different kinds of foods that exist, which are being completely disregarded with the emphasis on cash crops or non-indigenous crops, which might be good for in some ways, but actually are not particularly good for the community themselves. So their food security is actually threatened. One example is Mtwara in Tanzania, which had so many different crops, which were then all pushed aside in order to grow cashews only for export. The second example is with regard to what you said about kindergartens. And I have a huge problem with calling them shulis awali, preschool. They shouldn't even be going to school. They should be playing. They should be enjoying life. They should be learning and enjoying their childhood and learning how to interact with other people. But we've turned our preschools into mini universities rather than enabling families to use their local child-rearing practices, which have been working for thousands of years, to bring up their children, first of all, safe and secure in their own identities, and then moving on to the more formal aspects of education. So there are many things that you say, and I really support you. Thank you very much.
Asante sana. There's one more hand this side. As I leave, I will not come back. 2 hands.
Okay, so mine is a question to CBOs, and it's that across Africa, this is where I know, we've seen non-governmental and community-based organizations rise up to help solve certain problems. But to some extent, sometimes it's a way of empowering the communities to survive and strive. But in other words, it's a way of people in charge, or that should take charge of this. It's a way for them it's a way of them living what they're supposed to do, because we've seen CBOs start amazing projects, start amazing initiative, involve the community, then you see the moment the fund of that project elapses, the sustainability, the implementation, everything stops there. So what approach do you think as CBOs need to be initiated so that when you are starting something to solve a community's problem, the community's effort and authorities' concerns effort to be able to continue after this should be available, because I think we cannot be there to solve their problem for them at all time.
Mine is both a comment and a question. I am Karen Morioki, and I am from Kenya. And I'm a person with a disability, intellectual disability in this case. Now, I want to address the gaps between the collaboration between organizations of persons with disabilities and the CSOs. There has been a major gap between CSOs and OPDs working together to solve a major problem in climate change in matters to do with inclusive education. My question to you is, have you collaborated with organizations of persons with disabilities in enhancing climate change on matters to do with inclusive education? Thank you.
Thank you. This side is closed. Coming over to 2 final hands, and 3 final hands.
Thank you so much. James Chimbia from Malawi. My first comment is on when there is a disaster, usually in Africa, we have witnessed schools being disrupted because communities move to the schools and use them for shelter. And my question is on preparedness. Is there anything else CSOs can do to make our communities more prepared to these disasters so that when they come, the school spaces should not be occupied by the people who are displaced by these disasters, but rather there should be other structures that we have in place to accommodate them. And the second one is, usually when a disaster hits, people are not just affected physically, they are also affected psychologically, and that includes the learners in school. What kind of support are we providing to ensure that the learners in school are supported psychologically? Thank you.
Thank you. My two final hands. Prof has already stood up, so lady this time goes second.
Thank you very much, the panelists, and especially the area on climate change and its impact on society. I saw some passion from the moderator in terms of non-formal education and its contribution, especially in times of emergencies. There have been wrong perceptions, especially from various principals at various levels, when they look at non-formal education. And I think that is the perception which should actually be erased. No wonder why yesterday when I was making a presentation on funding of education, I said in Zimbabwe, we're actually coming up with a concept note on rebranding to call it most probably lifelong education, so that it separates itself from the adult education that it was associated with. One other thing that when we want to make interventions using that pathway, there's always been a situation like what the moderator said, that there is a flood and people are actually marooned on the other side, they need assistance. In Zimbabwe, we've got homeschooling, and this type of homeschooling fails to get acknowledgement from the principals and even the employer, the Public Service Commission, because they say the people who tutor and facilitate learning are not trained, in quotes, but they've got the competencies that they would do. So I also want to find out from these other countries as to whether going through the rigorous 3-4 years in a teacher's college and getting survival skills to assist a learner interpret reading material is significant. And lastly, when Clemens talked about the provision of materials, yes, that can be very expensive. But if we go back to the revisiting and rethinking of digitalization, I would like to encourage the use of low-cost bulk SMSs to be sent to the people who are in various and remote areas. That might not be very costly. Thank you very much.
Final hand.
Thank you so much. I would like to congratulate the panelists. I would like to look on the education policy of Tanzania of 2023. In the 3.7, it talks about cross-cutting issues. And what the government aims at this part, it says that government in collaboration with other stakeholders, which actually are CSOs and NGOs, will work together to ensure that there is a student who are taught about healthy environment and concept of a climate change and other things about importance of health environment are integrated into the curriculum. So as an NGO that we're working with schools, almost 150 schools in Tanzania from Morogoro and Iringa, Eco School, the overall objective is to promote active citizenship and improve livelihood through education for sustainable development. So how we do that, one is to impart the knowledge and a habit of conserving the environment in schools. So how we do that, we have some kind of activities including awareness raising on climate change and mitigation, also adaptation. Also, we were certain activities, we call it greening. We are providing trees to all schools that we're working with to ensure that we tackle the crisis of climate change in our schools and community at large. Also, we have some activities that we are using projectors in the villages to show the villagers the impact of climate change, and we're giving them opportunity to propose ways
actual local ways and innovation on how the community and the schools will tackle climate change. Currently, we have SICAM project, Climate Change Adaptation and Mitigation Project in Korogwe. And before we implementing the project, we have visited the villages, 8 villages and 5 schools. We conduct a vulnerability assessment to see how people in the school are affected by climate change. And they propose ways on how they can tackle the crisis, but as EcoSchool, how we are going to do that. I'm not quite, it's a comment, I'm about to finish. Someone asked from Nigeria, so we are implementing the project, and after sometimes we left how the community are going to survive. In EcoSchools, we have something we call exit strategy. A year before phasing out, we were having an exit strategy to see how the community and the schools are going to prosper, going to continue to tackle the climate crisis alongside the community and schools. Thank you.
Thank you so much to all who asked questions. Over to you, moderator. If there are any feedback, reactions, responses, I give you 5 minutes, and then we open the general floor for any Q&A as we go towards the closure. Karibu.
Asante. I think, as we said, let's just spread the questions because they were not specifically targeted to anyone.
Okay, thank you. The first one was a comment. Thank you for the comment. The second one from the lady from Nigeria. Let me quote you. You say CBOs come with amazing projects. Amazing in whose eyes? In the eyes of the community or in the eyes of the donor? Because most of our activities or our programs are amazing in the eyes of a proposal, are amazing in the eyes of a donor. They are foreign. That's why sustainability fails. Because we are bringing new ideas that the community does not even understand. And to us, we say they are amazing and would want to expect the community to carry forward. So I think that's where we fail. We are bringing foreign issues. Let's engage communities to come up with innovations that are community-based, and then, we develop that innovation. In that way, we can attain sustainability. That's my thinking.
I will take the one with the collaboration with persons with disability. For Lesotho, especially my organization, we work hand in hand with the persons with disabilities because we've learned over the years that being able, whether you can see, whether you can walk, whether psychologically, there's some things that you still will have some sort of stigma or discriminatory aspect without even understanding that you are discriminating or you are stigmatizing the next persons. So for me, for example, my board of directors, my executive director is the director for, the chairperson is the director for the Lesotho National Organization for Persons with Disability. My direct, I'll say my direct board that I work with is a person who's visually impaired. We have another board member, as much as he can visually see, but he's representing, especially, and he's the person that's actually looking at disaster management and humanitarian relief. He represents another organization of the visually impaired. As I said, I think in the beginning of this, I really believe in leaving no one behind. And I know the biggest motto for the persons with disability is nothing for us without us. And as Lesotho Council of NGOs, that has been something we've taken to be something that we cannot do without our persons with disability. Even when we were advocating for the inclusive education policy, the persons with disabilities were the one in the forefront. We just supported them. Even with the disability equity bill that came out in 2021, our persons with disabilities were the ones that were in the forefront, and we supported them because they know their challenges. I remember being in one meeting, and you see, in our continent, you have sidewalks, and then you find that we have Mama Spanbani and Tata Spanbani that will now have a marquee on that sidewalk, just so that they can sell the bag or sell the T-shirt or what. But without realizing that that person who is now using a wheelchair, that person who's actually using crutches, needs that sidewalk to actually get to where they need to get, so that they're not walking on the road, so they're not being not viewed by the cars or the motorcycles or the likes. So those are the small things that when you are able-bodied, you kind of, not in a bad way, you kind of have a way of not seeing, but it was those things that opened our eyes to say, okay, we cannot do anything because as human beings, we have our own discriminations without doing them directly, but we made sure that now we work hand in hand, day in, day out. I submit. Thank you.
Well, I'm going to take the question about unpreparedness. But before I do that, I would just like to tell my sister from Kenya that Elimu Yetu has worked very closely with the Kenya Association for the Intellectually Handicapped. We are here, about 3 of us. We can talk a little bit more with regards to the same. Now, coming back to the question, and the issue has been around, we need to appreciate the fact that education in emergency situation is prompted by a lot of factors. And they can be very varied. For example, we could be talking about an issue of security that has prompted the rising of a situation of an education in emergency. We can talk about issues of access. A flooding has come into an area, so the schools are inundated. They cannot be accessed. So because of that, learning cannot take place. We can be talking about cases of disruptions and displacements in cases of internally displaced persons. We could be talking about teachers feeling their lives are at risk. We could be talking about issues related to quality and resources in terms of learning spaces during this particular period. What I'm trying to say is that the factors contributing to emergency education in emergencies are varied. But then communities can come together to prepare disaster preparedness plans, so that at the end of the day, we can be able to provide some form of response when a disaster comes in. But the key thing here is then the CSOs must work very, very closely with the government on this particular endeavor, so that they can better respond to these particular issues. Tomorrow, I will be on a call with the Principal Secretary for Education, because the emergency education in emergency group has called a meeting so as to discuss the flood situation in Kenya, and it's affecting actually education. So that we are going to talk about it tomorrow, so that in detail we can say, okay, now where do we head to as a sector with regards to this particular calamity that we are having and is affecting schooling. So the critical aspect of it, yes, we can develop plans, we can work together in these particular forums and see the kind of action that we can take to mitigate the aspects of climate change. Otherwise, the opportunity we have here is to have disaster preparedness plans, but in doing so, we must get everyone involved.
Thank you so much, and thank you everyone for your responses to the questions, and I hope that everybody who shared, who asked a question was responded as they want. You want to share something?
No, there was a gentleman that asked about what do CSOs do, especially when it comes to psychosocial support for those that have been affected some way, somehow. We as CSOs, whether we are qualified or non-qualified councillors, we take that hat on to always be there as the support system for our communities, especially the communities that we work on. We do try to work with, I know in Lesotho, the pastoral counselors, we will bring them on board to say, and the psychologists or the social workers to say, we have this situation, can we have your assistance and can we get support to just get that in-depth counseling that will be needed. But we all know CSOs are first responders. As much as we say that we come sometimes unprepared, but we're still the first responders. And some of the things that we have to do as first responders is to actually give that support and psychosocial support to those that are affected. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. So we are winding up now. Clemens, in half a minute,
Okay.
what's the last sentence you want to share in regarding to the role of CSOs in education emergencies and crisis on climate change?
It will be amiss if we leave this without speaking to financing issues. CSOs, we need to push government to make sure that they, fulfill the commitments that they've made in terms of financing, climate change. The Sharm el-Sheikh commitments, we have to push for that as CSOs. We have to push. If we don't talk about financing, then everything becomes, just nothing.
Perfect. Thank you. Sebatu?
Policy advocacy, policy advocacy, policy advocacy, and inclusion.
Perfect. Policy advocacy, funding, policy advocacy, and inclusion. Yes, Joseph?
And in engaging in policy advocacy, I think we should actually appreciate the various forms within which the CSOs present themselves. Then we appreciate the kind of impact that we make, because we operate right from the community level, national level, and even at international levels.
Wow. So just in case you have been missing around what has been said, please do not forget the last sentences. Financing, ensuring that the government is putting enough finance on matters on education emergencies and crises on caused by climate change, but also advocating on policy and inclusion, and without forgetting embracing and acknowledging the impact CSOs are causing in our communities. Thank you very much for your wonderful explanation and discussion. And this marks the end of our panel. Thank you.
I really couldn't call this, yes, you're taking a picture. My photographers, I really couldn't put a name to this session, whether it was a TV program, it was a panel. I just wanted to keep on looking at you guys, keep on listening to you guys. It was just amazing. A round of applause to them. Asante sana. I was just pondering with a colleague on the table, like, why did we miss Tanzania on this session? But again, what transpires across the continent, it does not leave anyone behind, right? So I'm putting on my full suit now, so thank you so much. Thank you so much. Because we are going towards the closure now, and 2 o'clock, I promise we will all be on our lunch tables. So it is now an open stage. Open stage meaning if you have any question, if you have any comment. This will probably not work very well. So there's no table that only has one person, right? I want us all to discuss amongst ourselves, please, 2 key takeaways. And then I will come on every table and give you the opportunity to read those 2 key takeaways. Okay? Can we discuss amongst ourselves and agree? Third International Quality Education Conference should have these takeaways. Can we all in our tables just discuss 2 items? each, there could be 20, but again, weigh them down to 2 so that at least we all participate in this exercise. I give us 5 minutes. 5 minutes, let's discuss. 2 major takeaways after having had 3 intensive days. We're coming to an end now. What are those 2 key issues that really IQEC should come up with for 2023? In the report you're going to write, in communication we're going to make going forward, in our engagements we're going to get going forward with, what are the 2 from each table, 2 takeaways? Okay? So we have 5 minutes. Please let's discuss among ourselves. It's 1:12 now, 1:18 I will be coming to collect those papers, to pass the mic. And for those who have not spoken any words since we started, be rest assured, I will pinpoint you. I know everyone who spoke, and I will give you the mic to read on behalf of your group. So pay attention so at least you don't fail your group. Thank you. 5 minutes. There are tables not discussing. Please discuss. Make sure everyone speaks, everyone contributes. Vitu gani tutoke navyo kwenye mkutano huu wa 3 wa kimataifa wa ubora wa elimu Tanzania? Naomba ile link ya QR code ya picha labda tu display pia. Is that group done? Are we ready? You're ready? Excellent. So we are starting with you. But let's just give everyone another 1 or 2 minutes to wind up so that they do not copy from you. Okay? Let's give them 1 or 2 minutes for everyone to wind up so we do not copy from each other. We want new issues. Many will be relating issues, cross-cutting. I decide. Are we through? So believing that we've all done that, let's give attention to the first group. I'm going table by table. You guys are still discussing. Okay. So please let's pay attention to this group.
Thank you very much. I'm Haruni from the Foundation for Tomorrow. Then I will just go direct to the point which we have discussed in our group. We said, yes, I will take just one. We said this is the more takeaway from this conference is the call to the government for more funding to education sector. Thank you.
The other one is about improving the welfare of teachers, because the teachers are the engines that drive the education sector, and we would want governments to pay them well, build them houses, and also improve the teaching environments under which they operate. Thank you. Yes.
I would like them well written. I would like to have a paper so that I can give that to the rapporteurs. Okay? So can I have that? Those your 2 points. Can we clap 2 times for them? Thank you. Did you guys even discuss anything? These guys are on their own world. This table here, Mom, yes, we would like to hear from you.
Okay, thank you. I think we have one issue, basically one major issue, and that is for quality improvement. We need to create a great foundation on the improvement of teachers and teaching environments. I think that's it. That's the best one.
Paper? Can I have that piece of paper? Can we clap for them 2 times? Okay. I'm coming to this table. Where's my paper, this table? Thank you so much. This table here who has not spoken. Did you speak since you came? When? Ah, yes, you did. Ah, there's 2 faces. You.
Okay. So my name is Asia Bonanga from Kamara Education, Tanzania. And our 2 takeaway is engaging youth in decision making, and second one is was a finance education, but we just add more for education for inclusions. And also we have end violence in the schools by providing awareness to the teachers and students. So I think we have more.
Can we hear her? Repeat, please.
Oh. Okay, so okay, we have engagement of youth in the decision making and also to end violence to the school by providing awareness to the teachers.
What is this you wrote here? Thank you so much. Please write exactly how you presented. 2 claps for them.
Oh.
Well, my table with my brothers from Rwanda, Zimbabwe, and Kenya. The issues that one main issue we said, as much as we are talking about the 4th industrial revolution, technology is everything, but we need to remember that innovation is not always technology. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Can I have that? Is it well written for, please, I need that piece of paper. I need to pass it on to the rapporteurs. 2 claps for them. Did you speak? Okay.
Thank you so much. My name is Besnat from Zambia. So our 2 takeaways are similar to I think the first and second table, and the first is that we feel that the competence-based curriculum is the way to go, but that is if the governments can invest in the implementation and monitoring of the competent-based curriculum. And secondly, from the last discussion, we have realized that CSOs need to consult the targeted communities when developing project proposals.
Paper. 2 claps for them. Sorry? Okay. Very good. This rapporteurs, you also had issues. Okay.
2 issues. The first one, which came out strong, is that African governments and education stakeholders need to invest on the issue of education quality, including digital learning, and this should go hand in hand with capacity building to teachers, parents, and pupils or students. The other issue is the issue of early marriage and early pregnancy. It seems this is intersectoral and interministerial, so there's a need for political will to address the issues.
2 claps for them. Can I have that paper? Echo your table now.
My name is Joyce Kingazi. Our two takeaways, first is decision makers, politicians, and technocrats should be involved in such discussions so that what we discussed from day one can be implemented. And the second is the conference is a call that education in Tanzania is still lagging behind. So rethinking should not stop here. It should be an ongoing process, and all stakeholders should conduct more of these activities to increase awareness to the society.
My name is Valentine Joseph, a student from University of Dar es Salaam. This is not a takeaway, but I was just like from the first conference to today, the third conference, everything has a success and everything has a failure. I wish you guys could be able to tell us in each of the conference, in the second conference, for instance, you'll be able to tell us what was the success, what was the success and what was the failure, which was being implemented in the second conference, and the third, and you should give us details on the success and the failures. That's what I'll say.
Asante sana. 2 claps for them. I think it's been taken by the organizers, so next year we would like to know the progress. This table. Aha. I had a friend earlier on.
Thank you very much. My name is Annette Ngongi, and I work with Ubongo Learning. From our table, we had 2. We had, for any sustainable implementation of any education project, we need to involve the community, and we also need to create the space and make sure that we are fostering innovation in the education sector and policies. Also, we need to be engaging youth in decision making, and for the second, we say that through intervention and partnership with the government, so making sure that everything that we are doing in our CSO sectors, we find a way to like maybe align with the government priorities so that we work hand in hand with the government, or find a way to work hand in hand. Thank you.
2 claps for them. Number here. Thank you. This table here. Ta-da, 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 that gentleman.
Thank you. In our table, we have 2 takeaways. The first one is the need of development contact-based curriculum for learning and in Africa, providing communication for different learning groups. That's one. Another one is the need for total synergy among all parastatals and the Ministry of Education in Africa to ensure arrangement of school curriculum, assessment, and teachers' professional development. That is that is our takeaway. You can go and think about how we can develop our education sector in our countries. Thank you.
Can I have that paper? 2 claps for them. Asante sana. Just as IQEC's group said, rethinking is an ongoing concern. You lady, why did you pass that paper to? You're representing this group.
Yeah, but we're actually, they're takeaways, so we're taking them away, so you can't keep them with us. We'll take you with you. Eh?
Okay, my name is Happiness Muita from Duse Dar es Salaam University College of Education. Our 2 takeaways, the first one is digitalization should go hand in hand with digital awareness and safety. The second one is the all themes for 2024 education. This was an opportunity to look at, engage, and input into the all strategy. Thank you.
Sorry, this includes allying our education to our African realities and building on them in terms of the language we use, our own knowledge and wisdom, and the need for critical and creative thinking and entrepreneurship.
Thank you very much. 2 claps for them.
Okay, thank you. I'm not alone. My group members are present. Just blink twice and cough. You will see them. Okay. The key takeaways of note. The first one is on continuous evaluation and adaptation by both governments and partners, so that we can establish a mechanism for continuous evaluation of educational policies and practices to ensure that all policies are relevant. And then the second one looks at bridging the digital divide to address digital gaps by providing equitable access to technology and internet connectivity in schools and communities.
2 claps for him. Thank you very much. This side, this table, post chairs, the only table with post chairs. Yes, you.
Thank you. My takeaway is, our takeaway one is the importance of addressing the health issue, the issue of mental health in school environment. It's very important. I heard here talking about corporal violence, sexual abuse, but I haven't heard about psychological violence. I think this is key, and it should be taken into account too. Thank you.
Yeah, the second one is another thing to take here is to see that the climate change is another crucial issue, because even the United Nations talked about it. So we should start making advocacy in all levels, like in schools and in communities, to talk about it, because it brings some what we call harvest in our communities. Thank you.
Thank you so much. 2 claps for them. Can I have those papers, this table? My dear Grace, full of grace. No, I select speakers. But you discussed with your group. Wow. Okay. No, I'm not picking that gentleman. This lady here, my dear sister Nyamizi.
Good afternoon. As I said, I am Lilian Nyamizi, from the lecturer from the Institute of Finance Management in Dar es Salaam. We have 2 takeaways, but because we discuss in a collaborative way, I will talk one and my brother James will talk the second one. So the first takeaway which we discussed on is on CBET curriculum. We said it should be reflected and implemented effectively from all educational levels, from preschool to the institution level. Brother James.
All right, thank you so much. James Chimbia from Malawi. The second thing that we discussed is financing. We think government should provide more financing, more funding to the education institutions for us to be able to provide the infrastructure and the learning materials that are needed in the schools. Thank you.
Two claps for them. I'm not sure if the rest of the groups are going to survive my assignment, but let's see how we can catch up. The guest of honor is already on his way here. This group who has not spoken, let's make it quick.
Good afternoon, everybody. The key takeaway in your table, it concerns that the government should take a public-private partnership and make more engagement with the CSO so that if any issues appear for teachers, it can correct in-service teachers, training, also should employ more teachers rather than rounding outside the street. Why we have got a lack of teachers within our areas. Secondly, also the government should engage more with the tenement so as to correct all findings which find by CBT so that can help them to make more curriculum to be in a good way so that to be implemented for the community. Thank you.
2 claps for them. Can I have that piece of paper? Thank you so much. This table here, did you discuss? And you? You just came. Did you guys discuss something? Excellent. Can I hear the lady's voice?
Okay, 3 takeaways that we have discussed in our group. The first one is that avoiding violence in schools, for instance, sexual harassment and corporal punishments, as the leading factors for the dropout of students in schools. Secondly, when imparting knowledge and skills to the learners, the question of language is a main thing to be considered. Thirdly, the scarcity of resources, for instance, teachers and other infrastructures, are the hindrance factors for the implementation of CBC, so the government and other education stakeholders should take it into consideration. Thank you.
As the guest of honor comes into the room, let's clap our hands. Naomba tumpigie makofi mgeni wetu wa heshima anapoingia ukumbini and proceed straight to the stage. Makofi, makofi, let's clap, let's clap, let's clap, let's clap. Please be seated. Honorable guest of honor, good afternoon. We are delighted to have you with us this afternoon. We're just doing a very simple exercise, which, with your permission, I would request you to allow me to finish it up. We're looking on to key takeaways from the session. So most of these tables have given their takeaways. We just have a few tables, which again will give you a glimpse of what transpired over the past 3 days. So I'm on this table now. Just go straight on to the issues. Who is speaking on this table?
Okay, good afternoon. My name is Amanda Shoko, and ROIC and the Teach for Zimbabwe Kuyenda. Our 2 key takeaways are, number 1, government should invest more in education so as to create a bigger workforce, which will in turn expand the national fiscal space through taxes. Then number 2, we cannot deliberate the issues affecting the education system without involving the users. Those are the learners and the youths. Thank you.
Thank you so much. This table here.
Good afternoon. My name is Roderick Nyakabao from Zimbabwe. I'm part of the Kuyenda Collective. And these are the key takeaways that we have raised. Number 1, we have to create a structured plan to engage parents with basic schedules and design a flexible way for parents to contribute considering their busy schedules. Number 2, there is need for establishment of youth-led organizations and give the youths a fair platform for their concerns to be taken seriously. Thank you.
Thank you. 2 claps. I have that paper. This group.
Okay. Our governments should invest more in employing teachers, because we have so many teachers who are not employed yet. Number two, there is need for a field study, that is research, field research on CBC, as shown in the field desk report by Fiato.
Thank you. 2 claps for them.
Good afternoon. My name is Lilian Sospita from BSTO, Tanzania. Our recommendation is there's a need for education funding from central government and not over-delegating the responsibilities to education development partners. And number 2 is for education to be quality, we need to empower learners to produce rather than to be consumers.
2 claps for them. Can I have that? My dear students, I will save the best for last. This group, who is speaking?
My name is Diana Mosha. I'm from Global Community. We have 2 taken away here from our group. The first one is we are talking about the competence base, but we want the government to work with 2 institutions, which is examination institution and curriculum institution, to discuss the best way of assessing the kids on a competence base. Another one is about the life skills. There is the issue of teenager pregnancy and gender-based violence, but we need to put the life skills sessions within the curriculum and separate topic, maybe or separate session in academic calendar, so that to solve that problem. This is a recommendation to all of us. We are talking about the quality education, but we are not talking about the school feeding program, because the kids can stay in a school for 8 hours without food, without anything from morning to evening, and we want to ensure the quality of education. I think we need to put in our head about feeding program.
2 claps for them. Can I have that? Thank you so much. This group.
Good afternoon. We have some major takeaways, but we are going to read it too. Number 1 is climatic change. We see it affect all sector, but in education we have to improve in technology so as to solve this problem. And number 2, we see the problem is early marriage and teenagers' pregnancies. This is a serious issue. This is not for students or for school or government. This problem is started to the community and also parents. Thank you.
2 claps for them. Thank you so much. Guest of honor, for the past 3 days we've been deliberating on key topics and all looking on to how we can improve quality of education in the region. This table.
Thank you so much. My name is Serapia Misha. I'm from Pestalo's Children Foundation. Our 2 takeaways. First of all, we said that early childhood education to be informal and be funded by community. As we have seen now, it is not well funded by the government. Even the infrastructures and playgrounds are not friendly for children for early childhood education. And the second takeaway, we said that 2023 curriculum should create an opportunity to empower university tutors, as we heard that the university tutors are not empowered on the issue of curriculum, while our curriculum is competence-based, so they are missing this knowledge. So we saw it as an opportunity now.
Thank you. 2 claps for them. Can I have that paper? Thank you so much. Guest of honor, you shall, I believe, receive the recommendations from this meeting. All this that is being mentioned will be written in there.
Okay, my name is Lillian, and these are 2 takeaways. The first one, access of resources, financing, and accountability of how those resources should be allocated in their specific areas. The second one,
is implementation on empowering teachers to be focused on ICT, including training them, especially in rural areas. Thank you.
2 claps for them. Last but one group, and then we go to the students. Guest of honor, we have students all the way from Dodoma, totally delighted, totally energized, and we are happy to have them. This group who is speaking.
Thank you. My name is Bruno Victor. Our 2 takeaways is that competent-based curriculum is a good learning and teaching approach, but it's only require investment and control to make sure that the implementation is taking place as it's required. Number 2 is that to tackle 4th industrial revolution and the technology, we have to equip ourselves with capability of running technology and not to be slaved with technology. Thank you.
2 claps for them. And as I said, we are saving the best for last. We have our dear students to give us the very last 2 takeaways. Karibu.
Shikamoni. Kwa majina naitwa Arafa, nasoma shule ya msingi Kelema Balai iliyoko wilaya ya Chemba, mkoa wa Dodoma, nasoma darasa la 5. Tumejifunza na kuona jinsi gani sisi watoto wa kike tunapambaniwa kulindwa ili tusifanyiwe vitendo vya ukatili, tusome na kufikia ndoto zetu. Pia lugha ya Kiingereza ianze kutumiwa shule ya msingi kama ilivyo shule binafsi. Mkutano huu ni mzuri ila mambo mengi yametupita. Asanteni kwa kutusikiliza.
Asante, I guess I did not have to ask for 2 claps because they got more than the 2 claps. So basically they said they're happy to have learned for the past 3 days. There are people out there in the world who appreciate and are striving the very best to make sure that they're well protected. And then the second issue was on the languages. So we are now going on to the official closing ceremony, and I would like to start by recognizing distinguished participants, the presence of the Deputy Permanent Secretary, Dr. Franklin Rezimula. Let's put our hands together for him. I would like to continue to thank the chairperson of TENMET, Faraja Nyalandu. Let's again put our hands for her as well. We have on the stage Ms. Hadija Mcheka, Director of Secondary Education from the President's Office, Regional Administration and Local Governments. Let's put our hands together for her. We also have Mr. Ochola Wayoga, the National Coordinator for TENMET. A round of applause for him. We also have Ms. Ramsata Bari, GAC Global Affairs Canada representative. A round of applause to her. Guest of honor amongst us, as you rightly heard, we have students. We have people that have traveled miles to be with us, all the way from different parts of Africa. Delighted to have them with us, but we also have people who are coming from outside Africa. We have people in the spaces of CSOs, NGOs, academia, those working for the public sector, but those also working for the private sector. We've gathered here for the past 3 days, guided by the theme, Rethinking Education Systems in the 4th Industrial Revolution. So all the topics, discussions, deliberations, breakaways, we're focusing on how we can enhance quality education through ensuring that the education system is geared towards embracing the 4th Industrial Revolution. Without further ado, may I invite the TENMET coordinator, Mr. Ochola, to come, give you a very warm welcome, then request you to issue the certificates to our sponsors, and after that, he will invite the chairperson, who will say a few words, and then invite you, guest of honor, to honor us with the parting word for the 3rd International Quality Education Conference that is happening here. As he comes, let's put our hands together for him.
Thank you very much, our moderator, Austin, Dr. Franklin Rozamula, the DPS of the Ministry of Education, Science and Technology, Razmata Bari, the Global Affairs representative, all representatives from the DPs present here, Dr. Hadija Mcheka, the Director of Secondary Education, the Minister of PRAG, our board chair, Madam Faraja Nyalandu, students who are present here today, and we have the delegation from the TTU. We recognize and acknowledge your presence. My fellow staff and colleagues who have been able to prepare this conference. I also wish to acknowledge the presence of organizing committee. We have a team of 7 organizations that work tirelessly for the entire year to put up a conference for 3 days. But also I wish to recognize the presence of Mr. Richard Olong, the regional manager of Oxfam, Denmark, and most of the delegates also have been supported by the program he's managing, EOL. I wish also to recognize the presence of tenement members who are present here, and the presence of the delegate from 7 countries. I want to thank you all to be able to travel from Mozambique, Malawi, Zambia, Kenya, Uganda, and you have been here with us today for the past 2 days. The guest of honor, we thank you for your presence, and we are delighted to have you today. And allow me to mention some of our sponsors that have been able to ensure that we undertake this project, yes. Some of our sponsors who have been very generous over the years since we started undertaking International Quality Education Conference. And this is our 3rd edition, and we are so delighted that they partnered with us. And I want to recognize our first sponsor, Educational Out Loud. And they are here being represented by Mr. Richard Olong through Oxfam, Denmark. And I would wish that you come over and receive a certificate of appreciation. And as he comes, please give him a round of applause. As our delegate from as far as Lesotho, Sebabaso, you are most welcome. Our second sponsor, a representative of Malala Fund. Malala Fund are the ones that have brought the kids here from Chamber, but again, they have been able to support the Malala kids. Would you come on behalf of Malala? The Chamber kids, walisema kwamba Kiswahili na Kiingereza kinaita utata. Mnaweza mkaja wote kwa sababu mje wote mpokea on behalf of Malala Fund. Tumekuwa nao, we have been with these kids, this is the 3rd year, and they have traveled all the way from Dodoma to be part and parcel of this discussion and to speak for themselves. We thank you very much for coming. Shukia hapo kwenye ngazi, hapo shuka kwenye ngazi, tusije tukakosa huo mguu. Okay, thank you very much. And Malala do sponsor and support all girls' initiatives and interventions across the globe. The 3rd sponsor we wish to recognize is UNICEF for Every Child. The representative of UNICEF, if you are around today, na mgeni rasmi, to be honest, we are so delighted and thankful for UNICEF. They are the ones who are supporting us with this auditorium. Nasra, wherever you are, you need to come over and collect this on behalf of UNICEF. And as you send it back to UNICEF, ensure you return back to our secretariat. Again, I would wish to acknowledge the sponsorship we received from Vodacom Foundation. The representative of Vodacom, karibu sana. And thank you very much, and I hope we are all using Vodacom here to be connected and keep using Vodacom for their supporting the good cause in education. The other organization that has supported us, but also they are also in the field of organization across the world, is Aga Khan Foundation, Shahibu, wherever you are, on behalf of Aga Khan. Thank you very much, Shaibu, and the entire family of Aga Khan Foundation. The following is the Coalition of Good Schools. Coalition of Good Schools, as we had them yesterday. And the representative of Coalition of Good Schools, they were here yesterday. They are Kelimus and everybody. You know, sometimes when people do come to the conference, they seek to choose and switch the organization. So he's from Akilim. So say thank you to Coalition of Good Schools. I know you are in the southern part of Africa, in Asia and everywhere. Send our regards and thanks. The other sponsor for this year, 3rd Quality Education Conference, is Pestalozzi Children's Foundation. Mgeni rasmi Pestalozzi has been our sponsor for, we can't even mention the time since she started sponsoring our interventions. They have been very generous over the years, and any interventions that is being carried out by Tenement, they are always ready to support, and we thank them dearly, and we are delighted to have you today. But also they are the members of Tenement as well. The next is We World. We World representative, wherever you are, and if, yes, they are there. was a representative from WeWorld, and we thank you very much. We are proudly presenting a certificate of appreciation to Ubongo, representative of Ubongo. Makofi tena kwao. Yes, they have an intervention on kids, and most people knows them by the word Ubongo Kids, but they are Ubongo. Ubongo is ni brain, eh? Au ni zaidi ya brain. It's beyond the brain. The other sponsors here we want to present to you is UCASF. The representative of UCASF. Chacha, wherever you are. Please ensure this certificate is delivered and you come back to the secretariat. And our last certificate and our sponsor is Global Affairs Canada. Mgeni Rasmi and your entire team, those were our sponsors, and we thank you, and you may have your seat now. Okay. Thank you very much for your attention and for our sponsors being able to make this an event a success. And now allow me now to, our guest of honor, allow me now to deliver and read our outcome statement that has been generated by the input, by the discussions and deliberations that we have had in the past 2 days. And I shall read as they are. Yep. Well, thank you very much. Our shared commitment, and this statement, we are the delegates of the Third Quality International Conference who have met at Serena Hotel on 27th, 28th, and 29th, 2023. We have met to discuss and deliberate on the theme entitled Rethinking Educational Systems for the Fourth Industrial Revolution. Again, we have met to review and revisit our continent educational systems in light of Fourth Industrial Revolution and advise and deliberate to all actors on what needs to be done to improve the quality of education for all learners in Africa. We reaffirm our commitment to effectively participate and engage in improving our educational system in light of Fourth Industrial Revolution and uphold all principles enshrined on SDG 4 and SDG 5. The realization of quality education system remains our overarching roadmap for achieving sustainable development and overcoming the multiple challenges faced in education. We, the delegates, will continue to engage with all actors, including the government, UN agencies, African Union, regional organizations, private sector, teachers union, students and parents to ensure we channel our energy and efforts towards the realization of Agenda 2030. We emphasize that reducing inequality in educational provision, access, and inclusion requires multifaceted approach and a deliberate, urgent actions that promote best practices, increase investment in education, and improve the teacher development and capacity building. We reaffirm that the 2023 International Quality Education Conference theme is comprehensive and wanting and seeks to send decisive actions for African states to deliberate if the continent needs to prosper and engage meaningful in a global economy and technological advancement. We reiterate, for any education system to transform the lives and increase productivity of its citizens, it must be people-centered while balancing the three dimensions of sustainable development, which include economic, social, and environmental, in an integral manner. We also reaffirm the need of all school-age children to be in school and complete their schooling cycle without violence and discrimination. We are committed to improve learning environment by ensuring schools and the learning centers are the most secure places to promote peace and justice. And our call to action, after affirming what we have been able to do for the past 3 days, includes: we commit to collectively taking action which are transformative and urgent at all levels, and we call upon all stakeholders to overcome the crisis and obstacles facing education systems and delivery in all countries. We recognize the pressing need to take the collective actions necessary to reverse the trend and accelerate progress toward quality education provision. We are determined to make all efforts to implement the 2030 Agenda and achieve the Sustainable Development Goals as outlined in Goal number 4 in order to improve and cope with the 4th Industrial Revolution challenges. And to this end, we call upon all actors to increase spending on education to increase the spending on education, and we call upon all development partners, private sector, and non-state actors to engage and commit resources for educational advancement. We commit to enhance and support policies and strategies that will ensure budget for education is improved, and as a result will reduce school dropouts and enable female students to study without interruptions and eradicate child marriages and teen pregnancies. We call upon all educational researchers, policymakers, teachers to ensure educational sector plans are implemented with regard to the principles embracing science and technology. We also emphasize the need for a balanced and enhanced implementation of competence-based curriculum to steer up creativity, critical thinking, innovation, communication, and positive attitudes to both learners and teachers. We call collaboration among all learning institutions to deliver curricula that addresses the current and potential future challenges of society, and we call all actors to participate in the preparation and reviews of curricula in their countries that will involve all key stakeholders, including employers, professional associations, students, industry, and other stakeholders. We further call all states to commit and adhere to local and international perspectives that allows educational quality to improve from time to time. We also call all learning institutions to spend a reasonable amount of budget in research and development so that investment in education reflect the challenges that are in the educational sector. We also call all service providers in education to address the skill gaps that need a reflection of fourth industrial revolution, which is necessary to ensure all children know how to learn, adopt, and cope with the changing environment and technology. We also call governments and all actors to ensure and use the language of instruction best understood and known to students, teachers, and parents to foster learning in all levels. And lastly, we commit to providing support to the efforts geared towards combating early marriage and teen pregnancy. We also commit to support intersectoral and interministerial efforts and political will to come up with the mechanisms for the prevention of pregnancy and dropouts. We call upon all stakeholders such as NGOs, FBOs, teachers, parents, and the communities, and other well-wishers for the need to collaborate in dealing with the issues affecting learning for a girl child. The guest of honor, these are the deliberations that have come out of this meeting for the past 3 days, and I beg to submit.
So before I return the mic to the coordinator to invite the chairperson, who will then invite the guest of honor, we've all heard the resolutions that have been read on our behalf. Do we all agree to them? So if we agree, let's clap 3 times. Thank you so much. Now you can present them to the guest of honor and then come back to invite the chairperson to make her remarks and then invite the guest of honor for his remarks. Kindly be seated.
Thank you very much, and let me now take this opportunity to invite Madam Chair of the board of Tenement to have a few remarks, but also to welcome our guest of honor. Madam Chair, the podium is yours.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and our distinguished guest of honor. How are we all feeling? How are we all feeling? We! Wa! Thank you so much for very active participation and engagement in the last 3 days. I believe the outcome statement doesn't do justice to all the deliberations, the discussions, the dialogues that happened officially in our conference room, but even the dialogues that happened unofficially during our breaks and during our casual moments. I believe we are all positioned in our different capacities as CSOs, as education networks, as policymakers, to really create a new era of an education system that can work for the fourth industrial revolution. Mwalimu Julius Kambarage Nyerere once said, education is not a tool to escape poverty. Education is a tool to fight poverty. If we are to truly thrive and succeed as a country, as a continent, in the fourth industrial revolution, we need to invest in the human capital through the transformative power of education. Thank you all again for your participation. I do hope to see each one of you again next year, and I do hope you will continue to be formidable partners of the Tanzania Education Network. Our distinguished guest of honor, Dr. Franklin Rezimula, we are indebted to you. Dr. Rezimula made his journey this morning to be here on time for the closing ceremony in the middle of many conflicting, important, and challenging responsibilities, which I'm sure are in very capable hands. We appreciate your commitment, your dedication to TENMET, and most of all, we appreciate your hard work to ensure quality education is a reality in Tanzania. Thank you so much, and now I would like to invite you to give your remarks to the audience of the 3rd International Quality Education Conference. Asanteni sana, tunawashukuru sana. Naomba mjipigie makofi, tumpigie makofi mgeni rasmi. Asanteni.
Jamhuri ya Muungano wa Tanzania.
Kazi endelee.
Pole na kazi.
Asante.
TENMET Board Chairperson, Head of Development Corporations, Government Directors, including Madam Adija Mcheka, and government officials, distinguished foreign and local delegates, invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Jamhuri ya Muungano wa Tanzania. Please allow me to express my heartfelt appreciation for being accorded this opportunity of being your guest of honor at this closing ceremony of the annual Quality Education Conference. I'm also pleased to learn that this conference gathered over 250 delegates from all over Tanzania and beyond to discuss issues pertaining to education fraternity in Tanzania, with particular interest of chatting on how charting out on how quality education could be achieved and benefit all learners. It is indeed a commendable effort to see that during these 3 days, educationists, researchers, innovators, and stakeholders to education gathered together to deliberate on how nations can further improve equity and quality education rendered to Tanzanians learners at all levels. May I, at this point in time, congratulate Tanzania Education Network for organizing this conference. We thank our delegates from Zambia, Kenya, Zimbabwe, Uganda, Lesotho, and Rwanda, who has made it to this conference to share the best practices, skills, and experiences from their countries. Ladies and gentlemen, gatherings of this nature are crucial in providing space for education stakeholders to share information and to dialogue on the best ways of improving quality of education in the country. I'm aware that during these 3 days, you have been discussing issues emanating from thematic areas around digital learning and transformation, education financing, issues of early marriage and teenager pregnancy, language of instructions, girls' education, and learning environment, just to mention a few. These topics are so important at gearing up and balancing equation toward quality education that we dream every Tanzanian child to access. Further, I have also learned that the government, through the Minister of Education, Science and Technology, briefed all delegates and the Tanzanian at large the massive education transformation agenda the government has embarked on. In light of that, I wish to reinforce the commitment of the government in, as aforementioned by the Minister of Education, Science and Technology, that the government will continually strive to ensure our education system is responsive to the needs of global era in alignment of aspiration of ensuring a nation produces its human capital with competence required to address the challenges and opportunities of the global economy. Ladies and gentlemen, Tanzania has made a commitment to provide quality education to its citizens. The government has taken steps to remove barriers to access to education, including those that prevented pregnant girls or young mothers from attending formal schools. This underscores the country's commitment to making education better, safer, and more accessible for its next generation, and to advance Tanzania's social and economic development. The key policy initiatives of the current education sector development program include Tanzania's commitment to providing 12 years of free and 10 years of compulsory basic education to the entire population, leaving no one behind, and the progress expansion of technical and vocational education and training, TVET. Ladies and gentlemen, the theme of the conference is Rethinking Education System for the Fourth Industrial Revolution, which advocates education for all. The government of Tanzania, under the leadership of Honorable Dr. Samia Suluhu Hassan, has not only committed but strived to ensure every Tanzanian kid access quality education. To this end, the government of Tanzania have continued to build new education infrastructure, which maintaining and refurbishing old ones, or the new schools. The quality of education infrastructure is a crucial factor in the learning process. High quality infrastructure can facilitate better learning, improve student outcomes, and reduce dropout rates, among other benefits. The government of Tanzania has taken action to fast-track the provision of school infrastructure, teacher housing, and increased learning materials. The government have continued to improve quality of teachers through refreshing their knowledge and developing new skills while increasing deployment of teachers. The government is determined to continue reducing the gap of the teacher to student ratio to ensure we achieve quality education as stipulated in the various conventions that the government has ratified. Ladies and gentlemen, on policy reforms, the government is doing a number of reforms in education. The policy reforms aim to provide a framework for the development of education and training in Tanzania with a goal of creating a competent and competitive workforce that can contribute to the country's social and economic development. It is good to mention here that the government has reviewed education and training policy of 2014 and curricula to reflect the necessary changes in the education trend globally. The new education and training policy 2023 edition will be implemented from January 2024 and is expected to transform the country's education sector. The policy emphasizes 21st century skills such as communication, collaboration, creativity, and critical thinking. It also aims to harmonize higher education with the country's priority and the labor market demands. The policy places a strong emphasis on practical education, including technical and vocational training, starting with Form 1. Teacher education will now be offered to graduates who have completed Form 6 and beyond, with 1 year of internship under supervision. The policy also aims to revamp the testing and evaluation system, focusing on the skills needed at each level and ensuring continuous assessment and a variety of testing methods to gauge students' progress in learning. Ladies and gentlemen, quality education goes hand in hand with inclusive education and child protection, ensuring none should be left behind. The government is determined to ensure every kid get education, including vulnerable children. The government is playing its role to protect and ensure vulnerable children so as they exercise their rights to access quality education by attending schools. Ladies and gentlemen, the contribution of civil societies is commendable. And the government, through Minister of Education, Science and Technology, in which I'm serving to help Honorable President, have been working hand in hand with civil societies at all levels. As you have gathered here today, as a forum of civil society working on education, I would like to reiterate civil society need to show tangible contributions, and for this particular context, the contributions towards education specifically for basic education. It is the duty of all of us, state and non-state actors, to build our nation, and for this case, build strong on education sector, and the government is committed to working together with civil societies organizations. Ladies and gentlemen, let me conclude my speech by wishing you safe journey back home. May Almighty God protect you throughout the way and reach safely. I believe that the 3 days discussions have come up with valuable deliberations and resolutions that will go a long way toward developing education further and assisting our country to realize quality education. With these few remarks, I now have the pleasure to declare this 23rd International Quality Education Conference is officially closed. Thank you, and asanteni sana kwa kunisikiliza.
Can we give a bigger round of applause to our guest of honor, the Deputy Permanent Secretary from the Ministry of Education? Kindly be seated. Honorable guest of honor, may I request you to do one activity in here, which will be to take group pictures, so we have a very good memory of this spectacular, well articulated event. And after that, I believe the media would like to have a word with you. So you and the chairperson and the rest of the members of the high table, except for the coordinator, will have a brief media interview. I'm told it would not exceed 5 minutes at the partners booth, while the coordinator and the rest of us will remain in here for another 1 or 2 minutes. Believing that I have your blessings to my request, we will have just 5 quick pictures. One will be, the first one will be the members of the board of TENMET. So may I request the board members of TENMET to kindly come for a group picture. TENMET members, the board members, please come. All our sponsors will be the next picture. The second one will be all our sponsors. The students will take the third picture. Our dear international delegates, if you know you come from outside Tanzania, we are honored once again to invite you for the fourth picture. The committee that organized this important conference, picture number 5, and the final one, the secretariat, the TENMET secretariat. Can you move slightly to behind the guest of honor? Please move behind the guest of honor so at least we know this picture is centered. Safi kabisa. Camera. Our dear sponsors, please, you may come now. All our sponsors, those who received those certificates, please come. And we truly thank you once again for all your support. If I could get some background music, it would be so nice. It's so quiet in here. I'm scared. So all the sponsors, please come. Our students, please come closer. Naomba wanafunzi wote msogee hapa karibu, naomba mchangamke. Nyinyi ni taifa la leo, sio la kesho. Kesho yenu imekwisha fika. Asanteni sana sponsors. Huo mziki ni wa baadaye kidogo. Naomba tusimame nyuma ya mgeni rasmi, tuchangamke watoto wangu wazuri. Wakati huo, may I request all international delegates, if you know you come from outside Tanzania, totally honored to have heard you in Tanzania for the past 3 days. I believe for the remainder of the weekend, especially the weekend, you are going to still remain back and explore the beauties of Dar es Salaam and Tanzania. That includes Zanzibar. Please make time. Thank you so much, our dear students. Let's exit through the other side. All our international delegates, kamati ya maandalizi, please get set. We heard from the coordinator, you've worked tirelessly for over a year to bring this monster down, and we've come to the end. Beautiful, well done. So organizing committee, you'll be next. International delegates, I believe you can smile better than that. I know we've delayed lunch, but
You know, it's the 3rd International Quality Education Conference. People can look at you and just start asking, if they're not smiling, where is the quality? Yeah, so we truly thank you and appreciate you making time to have traveled all the way from your countries. Karibu sana. Thank you so much. Asante sana. May I have the committee now? Committee members. Committee members? Honorable guests of honor, committee members comprised of the Transforming Life, Shule Direct, Policy Forum, UNICEF, Uwezo, and Aga Khan Foundation. And the Secretariat, of course, TENMET. But since TENMET will come in later. Transforming Life, are they here? Very good. Shule Direct, IQEC, nimekuona. Policy Forum, UNICEF is represented. Uwezo, excellent. Aga Khan Foundation. Oh, there they are. Thank you so much. They are still coordinating, ensuring that this closure is a success. Mr. Policy Forum, you know you can smile. You look too serious. You look like the bodyguard to the guest of honor, my friend. Smile. Thank you so much. A round of applause to the committee. May I now request the TENMET team, TENMET, the Secretariat, to please come quickly and let's do this final picture. TENMET. And after that, the guest of honor will proceed to the partners booth for a brief interview and then join us for lunch while the rest of us hear the parting word for the 3rd International Quality Education Conference by the TENMET coordinator. Excellent, excellent. Naomba usimame pale katikati. Yeah, move, squeeze. Yeah. Can you squeeze in? There's a big gap there behind Ochola. Yes, let's fill the gaps. That is what we do. Excellent. A round of applause to TENMET. Fantastic job. Thank you very done. Well done. Thank you, TENMET. Asante sana. Tanzania Teachers Union. Mnisamee tu. Mko? TTU, are we here? Naomba basi tuje chap picha ya upendeleo. Mheshimiwa mgeni rasmi, tumekuwa na TTU. Tena wametoka, huyu bwana ameniletea karatasi, ametokea Songwe. Inachukua siku 3 kutoka Songwe mpaka Dar es Salaam. Lakini tumekuwa nao walimu wetu hawa wakiwakilisha walimu wote. Hawa ndio wenye jukumu la kubeba taswira ya Tanzania tunayoitaka, kwa sababu Tanzania tunayoitaka inatokana na kizazi tunachokizalisha. Can we please put our hands together for TTU? Tunawashukuru sana, asanteni sana. In honor of the gesture that the guest of honor has ushered us this afternoon, can we all please rise so that we can allow him to proceed for the interview? Can we all please stand up and clap our hands in appreciation for that wonderful gesture? Tunakushukuru sana Mheshimiwa Naibu Katibu Mkuu, our Deputy Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Education. While the rest of us, can we clap, clap, clap? Clap, 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 clap. Asante sana. So let's have one word from Mr. Ochola, and then we shall have one quick announcement where to get your lunch coupons, and then proceed for lunch. Karibu.
Wow, finally. At least I'm going to have a sleep today, and I just want to thank you all for being able to make it for the past 3 days. And for those who are leaving, I thought you would stay. I think you would stay so that we are on the same page. And once these announcements are made, you don't have to ask for any other person. I'm standing before you today having served the Tanzania Education Network for the past 5 years. And I just want to thank my colleagues, partners, friends, and the entire fraternity of tenement, the coalitions of educations in Africa, but again the teachers and everyone else who have been really supportive over the past 5 years. I'm standing here today to bid a farewell as my time has come to a close. And first and foremost, I just want to thank my colleagues and staff whom we have worked together for the past 5 years. And as I'm leaving the organization or switching to a different role, I'm so grateful for their support, their commitment, their input, and the resources that they have been able to draw into the education and also for the life that they have impacted. And as I'm leaving, I'll be handing over to Martha, and I wanted to introduce you to Martha Makala, who is going to be able to take the journey further in different perspectives, but also with a lot of vigor. So Martha, if you don't mind, please come. The board, Martha is going to take over the transition until when the board is going to confirm. And I'm just asking you to give her your support, necessary support. She's a dedicated lady, very active. But again, I will stay behind at least for the next 6 months. Not as an employee, but just to support whenever she will be able to need me and wherever the board will be able to need me. Otherwise, Martha, I just want to wish you all the best. I understand it's not going to be easy, but take courage. To the students, I'm really emotional. Well, fabulous. Wow. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Coordinator. We will always be looking for your wisdom, knowledge, and massive skills to advance where you've ended. Please, Makani, come and take it over.
Okay, so before I invite everyone on the stage to come and give the coordinator a big hug, you shall collect our lunch coupons right where we collected yesterday, where they distribute the IDs. Okay? So, Ochola, my friend, I'll probably be also among the very first ones, since I'm on the stage, to give you a big hug. We've worked together for a very long time, and it's truly been a great honor. Thank you so much. So please stand here. DJ, give me my song. Can we come and say, wish the very, very, very best to Mr. Ochola as he's taking new responsibilities. Waving flag. Can we all come? Let's come and wish him well. Let's come and wish him well. We've had really fantastic 5 years under his guidance and leadership. Pump it up. This is for everyone in this room. sauti kidogo, kuna interview nje.
Give me freedom, give me fire, give me reason, take me higher. See the champion, take the field now.
Let's wish him well. Let's wish him all the very best. 10 Met has really transformed over 5 years. Okay, so those of us still standing are the ones that are going to represent the rest of us. It's truly been a wonderful time. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for your participation. Wonderful 3 days on the 3rd International Quality Education Conference. Thank you for your participation. Travel well for all of you traveling back to your countries. For those who are staying in Tanzania, let's realize all the visions, the dreams, the aspirations we have for Tanzania, for Africa, and the world at large as we bring the quality of education in Tanzania. DJ, anza tena wa wimbo alafu weka sauti mpaka Serena waliolala waamke. So we wave the flag of quality education in the region. Kwenye vitambulisho pale kuna coupons za lunch. Pump it.